Hello everyone, so let's have a quick glance on today's newspaper headlines dated on 28 March 2019. So let us start from the front page of the Hindu. Successful anti-satellite missile test puts India in elite club. PM announces launch in televised address, says it's for peace, not warmongering. It means not for attacker. On Wednesday, 27 March 2019, DRDO tested anti-satellite missile under Mission Shakti, due to which India has become fourth country in the world which has capability to launch missiles to destroy satellite in low Earth orbit of 300 km after United States, Russia and China. India has capability to conduct anti-satellite missile tests for at least 10 years, said by senior scientist DRDO. India has built the broad capabilities and building blocks to develop anti-satellite missiles for some time as part of its ballistic missile defense program. A DRDO officially claimed that anti-satellite missile was a modified exo-atmospheric interceptor missile of the ballistic missile defense. A low Earth orbit of 300 km was chosen to minimize debris. It means to minimize loose natural material consisting specially of broken pieces of rock. And it also won't last more than a few months, the official said. Anti-satellite weapons provide the capability to shoot down enemy satellites in orbit, thereby disrupting critical communications and surveillance capabilities. Opposition attacks Prime Minister. A war of words broke out between the BJP and the opposition over Narendra Modi's address. While Congress President Rahul Gandhi wished Mr. Modi a very happy World Trade Day, the Trinamool Congress and the CPIM said the announcement was a violation of the Model Code of Conduct. Election Commission to check for code violation. Election Commission directed a committee of officers headed by Sandeep Saxena, Deputy Election Commissioner, to examine whether the PM's address violated the Model Code of Conduct. After a high-level meeting, the Election Commission said the matter has been brought to the notice of the Election Commission. No treaty was violated, said by Ministry of External Affairs. India has assured the world that it did not violate any international treaty or understanding with the anti-satellite missile testing. The Ministry of External Affairs said the test was not directed against any country. Anti-satellite weapons date back to Cold War. Anti-satellite weapon systems have a long history and were a product of the Cold War hostilities between the US and the Soviet Union. What are anti-satellite weapons? They are missile-based systems to attack moving satellites. So far, the US, China and Russia were the only ones who have reported the ability to shoot down space objects from ground of airborne sources. Anti-satellite weapons came back into popular currency after China conducted an anti-satellite missile test on January 11, 2007. The target was a Chinese weather satellite, the FY-1C, that sailed at an altitude of 865 km. A year later, the US launched Operation Burst Frost, the code name to intercept and destroy a non-functioning US national. What are anti-satellite weapons? They are missile-based systems to attack moving satellites. So far, the US, China and Russia were the only ones who have reported the ability to shoot down space objects from ground or airborne sources. Airborne means flying sources. These weapons came back into popular currency after China conducted an anti-satellite missile test on January 11, 2007. The target was a Chinese weather satellite, the FY-1C, that sailed at an altitude of 865 km, 537 miles. A year later, the US launched Operation Burnt Frost, the code name to intercept and destroy a non-functioning US NRO satellite named USA-193. What are India's capabilities so far? India's anti-satellite development has a long history with Dr. V.K. Saraswat, Director General of the Defense Research and Development Organization, stating in 2012 that India had all the building blocks necessary to integrate an anti-satellite weapon to neutralize hostile satellite in low Earth and polar orbits. However, there was never any formal announcement of such a mission. What's new about India's anti-satellite system? While Mission Shakti may have targeted an object in outer space, India has long developed the ability to intercept incoming missiles. In 2011, a modified Prithvi missile mimicked the trajectory of a ballistic missile with a 600 km range. Radars at different locations swung into action, tracking the enemy missile, constructing its trajectory and passing on the information in real time to Mission Control Center to launch the interceptor, an advanced air defense missile. It had a directional warhead to go close to the adversarial missile before exploding to inflict damage on it. What are low Earth orbit satellite? The Indian satellite that was shot down was a low Earth orbit satellite. These are satellites roughly at an altitude of 2000 kilometers from the Earth, and that's the region where the majority of satellites are concentrated. A database from the Union of Concerned Scientists, a non-government organization based in the US, says that there are at least 5 known Indian satellites in low Earth orbit. India PSAT resource set to radar imaging satellites 1 and 2 and SRM satellite. Space power. Under Mission Shakti, DRDO tested anti-satellite missile which hit a live satellite in low Earth orbit of 300 km. Anti-satellite is a modified interceptor missile of the ballistic missile defense system. The mission was completed in 3 minutes. low Earth orbit was chosen to minimize debris. Only 3 other countries, US, China, and Russia, have demonstrated this capability. The down satellite was Microsat-R, an imaging satellite which orbits at a height of 274 km. The interceptor missile was a 3-stage missile. The kill vehicle is on the top, as we can see in this picture. These are the 3-stage missile, and this top one is the kill vehicle. The test was conducted around 11 am from Dr. Abdul Kalam Island Launch Complex, earlier known as Wheeler Island in Odisha. This is the place where test was conducted around 11 am. In 2012, India conducted its first test of Agni 5 missile from Dr. Abdul Kalam Island, and this is the second test of anti-satellite from same island, Wheeler Island in Odisha. So this is all about the anti-satellite missiles. Now editorial news. Slow on sanitation. Policymakers have failed to use technological advances made in treating fecal slurs. Fecal means solid waste passed out of the body, and sludge means dirt. The tragic death of 6 people who entered a septic tank in Tamil Nadu's Sri Perumbudur town is a grim reminder that sanitation remains a low priority area despite the high political profile of Swachh Bharat. Public understanding of the science of managing septic tanks continues to be poor, and the availability of cheap labor to clean these structures has slowed efforts to develop technologies that can safely remove and transport the waste. 3 people collapsed while inspecting their residential septic tank, and others who tried to save them also perished. Although workers were not affected in this case, it confirms Tamil Nadu's abysmal overall record at raising sanitation standards. Since 1993, when the first law was passed against manual cleaning, there were at least 144 workers deaths in Tamil Nadu as of November 2018, according to official data reported to the Center for Grant of Compensation. Karnataka, UP and Punjab also fared badly, with the cumulative toll of 146 lives lost during that period. But this is obviously a gross underestimate, since the Safai Karmchari Andolan, which has litigated in the Supreme Court seeking to aggressively prosecute offenders, contends that septic tank cleaning claimed nearly 1,500 lives between 2014 and 16. More reports of deaths continue to come in. A blow against Article 370. Article 370 is an article of Indian Constitution that was put in place in 1947. This article gives the state government of Jammu and Kashmir special rights. And the special rights are: suppose law implement in India, but in Jammu and Kashmir law may or may not be implemented by those people who lives in Jammu and Kashmir. and permanent resident system also. It means if the person living in Jammu and Kashmir for a long time, then that people is given permanent resident status, and only a permanent resident status can buy land in Jammu and Kashmir. Background and status quo is slow death against federalism.